Hello, I'm Frost and welcome to my Syndicate in-depth series. Now the way that I do these videos is I play through the game, I skip through the bits that are kind of irrelevant or just going to take up time to try and keep these videos as short as possible. But what I do is as I go along, I demonstrate all the strategies and tactics I will use with regards to this particular race, which in this case is the Syndicate. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be using the Promethean secret tech with it. So time to get started. Okay, so we need to do our game setup. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pick Capital World. I am then going to keep everything pretty much as standard. I think I've moved the world threat level up from low to moderate. Okay, so that everything is kind of pretty much standardized. So then that way, as I play the different races, different factions, we're kind of using the same base for all of them. So it allows for a better comparison. And then we're going to go and select our commander. So I've got one already set up and ready to go, who's Cindy Sparks. So there we go. And we're going to go into customize so you can see Syndicate and Promethean secret tech. So the interesting thing with this combination is we have kind of all the weapon types, because we have arc and psi for the Syndicate, and then we have thermal and kinetic for the Promethean. So we've got a real kind of mashup of tools that are available to us for us to use, so it should make for an interesting game. Now in terms of the perks, because I really want to demonstrate the Syndicate and how you can use the Syndicate, and they have those, as you can see here, excellent stealth capabilities and covert operations, I am using the covert operative bonuses, which basically makes my research faster for society research, and also gives me bonuses to my covert strength and defense. And I'm going to be using these a lot, so that's going to come in really handy. I'm then going to take an energy cache, as I want loads of energy to start with so that I can build a colonizer nice and early. So that's my choice as to what to start with. And then I'm just using the basic equipment with no particular vice. So there you go. So that's everything already is set up. So it's time to take Cindy and get underway. All right, so we're coming into land. There we go. We are making our entrance. And we're ready to start. So very first thing is zoom out. And the first thing that I can see that's wonderful is I've got a shoreline right next to my first colony. So that is brilliant. That's a perfect way to start. That means that I'm going to be moving kind of away from the shoreline. And that's going to make my capital very, very well defended. So clearly the first thing I'm going to do with my colony is I need to set up my main production, which is going to be my bio farm. So we're going to produce that, as we want our first colony to generally be a production of food to allow its growth, and then followed immediately by building up a couple of runners, in fact one runner and then a couple of indentured. And what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to wait till about turn 10, and then I will show the manual combat, so that by then we've got a few tactical operations and we've got a few units, and then I can properly demonstrate the use of the Syndicate in manual combat. In the meantime, what I'm going to do is for the next few turns, I'm going to just expand. So I'm going to send my first runner either up or down, looking for basically the topology. And then what I'm also going to be doing is on turn 1, these will unlock, the society research and the military research, and then we can start looking at where I'm going to go with those. And apart from that, then I'm just going to run around and just do the kind of the basic quest to start with. I'm going to look as well very quickly. If I go in economy, you can see I've got a lot of production around here. So it looks like my capital is going to be set up. Obviously food is kind of the first, but I'm going to try and use a couple of these as annexes so that I can get really good production facilities as well. As one of the main aims of the Syndicate is to steal as much energy and later on research from your enemy, and then use the indentured bonuses, which we're going to come on to in the next turn, to build up as many armies as possible so that we have a really, really powerful army base. All right, so let me move on, and I'll catch up with you in the next turn once I've done the first few basic moves. Right, so we're underway with turn 2, and what I did is I went up and did the quick bit of combat up here. So I've grabbed vertical stones, which means I've got a sector that's ready to be annexed now with a production bonus. We can also see that I've got a sight up here that I can do with my hero. I've also got one down here. So once again, I may wait till about turn 10 before doing those, and then we can do those as part of the manual combat, as they can be quite interesting. And we can now look at our research. So if we go into our military research first, we've got a real mishmash, as I mentioned before. And at this stage, I'm just going to do the basic first 3 in kind of tier 1. So I can pick any one, so I'll just pick exploit weakness for now. And then once we get a little bit further in, then we'll see whether we want to decide to focus more on the Syndicate kind of tree, or whether we want to go more down the Promethean tree. So for now, we're just going to get that underway. The one I really want to look at is the Society. Now with the Society, obviously we've got our frontier facilities, which is kind of what the recommended one is, which allows us to build our colonizer. And we'll need that in a few turns, but we don't need it just yet. The one I want to look at is diplomatic niceties. Now what that does is it gives us noble diplomats, which is something that improves our influence points and energy income if we're at peace with other factions. Now we're not going to need that early on because we're not seeing many factions, so that comes in later. But the one we do want is the one next to it, called indentured contracts. Now what indentured contracts does, it reduces the upkeep of your indentured units. So obviously you've got the units called indentured, which are the basic units you get from the Syndicate, but also with a mod, which we'll get later on, we can then make other units indentured. And what this does is it reduces the costs of maintaining our armies. So we're in a position with the Syndicate to be able to build big armies and have them ready in advance, rather than, for example, with other factions where you kind of have to wait and then build them up at the last minute so that you don't have ongoing upkeep that's basically draining all your energy all the time. So I'm going to get that trained up. Once obviously I've got Operation Effectiveness 1, then I'll be able to add a second doctrine. But that will be the first doctrine that I'm going to enact. And then I'm going to do Frontier Facilities, and then Area Surveillance, and then Operation Effectiveness. Then I want Covert Infiltration. Now Covert Infiltration, the one I really want here is the Energy Siphon. So the Energy Siphon is going to allow me to steal energy from my opponents. Now at this stage of the game, I don't have any, so it's not too critical, which is why I'm going to focus on getting my tier 1s all done. Obviously I'm not going to bother with Aquatic at this stage. That's only relevant if we need to go across shore to attack an enemy, or an enemy looks like they're going to come and attack us across the water, which is fairly unusual in Planetfall. So we're going to leave that one and then do, like I say, Operation Effectiveness and then Covert Infiltration. Now, one of the things that's unusual with the Syndicate is when you normally play with factions, you don't normally want to discover everybody, because you can develop bad relations, etc. But with the Syndicate, the more people we find, the more opponents we find, then the more people we can use to steal from. And so that's in our best interest. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the runners, and I'm going to try and produce sort of 3 or 4 over the next sort of 10 turns if I can, and then start sending them off in all directions so we can try and find as many opponents as possible. So that's the plan for the next 10 turns. And as I said, I'm going to do some exploring, and then I'm going to annex this sector probably in the next 10 turns, and then I may even start building the colonizer and then find a spot for my colonizer. So let me set my society research. So there we go, put that underway. And I will see you probably at turn 10. If something happens before then, we'll catch up then. Turn 10. Right, I made it there. Okay, so this is the situation so far. I've been training up my skills, and I'm ready now to do some more military research. So you can see I've done the first 3. Now we're going to be looking at the next ones. Now these ones start getting more interesting because there's some decisions to be made here. I've got enforced control up the top here. Now this one gives me the guild assassins. Snipers are always great to have, and that would give me a really good unit, and that is like very appealing. Employee deception, I'm not too bothered about at this stage. It's kind of it's early game. It's not going to be that useful. I can see what the other enemies' armies are doing, or I get camouflage, and I'm not too bothered about hiding my movements at this stage. So that one's kind of out of the picture. Now, Dominion of Purification, you've got obviously this offensive mod and this one too, but then you've got this, which is the Cleansing Pulse. Now, this is a really good tactical operation to have. especially for one of your heroes. You know, you can pop him right in the middle of your units and clear status effects. So that is very, very appealing. But then we've got Phoenix Substation down here, and we get the Incineration Strike, you know, which does quite a bit of damage, and you know, is very useful tactical operation. So I've got to just make a decision between Enforced Control, Dominion of Purification, Phoenix Substation, but then I could also jump straight to Preventative Control. Now, if you remember, I mentioned earlier on how you can make units indentured, and it's with this mod here, which is called the Cerebral Control Color. And this will make any unit indentured. And so when I start building up my armies, this is something I'm going to be using quite a lot, as well as giving a +1 bonus to shields and making them immune to morale effects. You know, we also make them indentured, which is going to reduce our costs. So I think what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go for Domain of Purification first, and then I will then go Enforced Control and then Preventative Control. And then that way, those are going to be my next three. I'm not going to bother too much about this tactical operation. I think this one is much more valuable. So we're going to go with this one and get that underway. On the society side, you can see I've done my diplomatics, my frontier, and my area of surveillance. I'm doing my operation effectiveness next, so I can have more tactical operations and then start getting strategic operations and doctrines. And obviously I'm going to need that so that I can do my energy siphon. And talking of energy siphon, which is going to be afterwards, I have now met somebody. If I go into my diplomacy, I have met Mahina Watika of the Amazons. And the way that I met this lady was I discovered, if I zoom out on my map here, I discovered a teleport right here. Sorry, just right here. And it took me all the way down to the bottom of the map down here. So you can see I've got my runner down here. And I have found this Amazon's borders. So that's good. So I've already found somebody. And it means now I can use the runner to travel all the way back through this dark area of territory and find out what is there along the way. In terms of my situation, you can see that I've got a really good shoreline that goes all the way around. So I've kind of got a whole northeast corner here, which is absolutely great. I have found another teleport right here, which I haven't used yet. I'm just kind of going a little bit further along the shoreline with this runner to see if I can find, you know, another opponent up this way. And then I have also discovered down here a place called Novo Neth, and this is an independent. And independents are great because it means that I can use influence to gain another colony rather than having to use Cosmite. Because as you know, since the, I can't remember, was it the Stegosaurus update or was it the one before that? It was the Ankylosaurus update that they basically nerfed the ability to use more colonizers. So each colonizer costs more Cosmite and energy every turn. So the ability to be able to use influence to get another colony is great, especially as I get bonuses for that for the Syndicate. So talking of colonizers, I am building a new colonizer right now. I had to do a recreational dome first because unfortunately my people are unhappy in my colony. And so I need to deal with that first. Then I'm going to build the colonizer, and I'm probably going to, let's go to our economy tab. I'm probably going to build it somewhere down here where I can get some energy bonuses and things. And as you can see, I've already annexed this sector up here, and I've got some production bonuses, which is good. And then my influence, as you can see right now, is at 55. And I'm going to use that to kindly remove the growth faction from this bonus area here, which gives me even more production. So I'm going to grab these kind of two sectors, and then my main colony is going to be really well set up for production. Now I wasn't going to do aquatic development, but I am aware that there is a Cosmite bonus up here. There's another one down here, but it's quite a ways away, so I doubt I'm going to come there anytime soon. So I'm still going to hold off on the aquatic development for now and just focus on kind of these areas around here. Now I need to keep the growth faction suite as they have an encampment just right here, an NPC dwelling. And so I'm busy doing quests for them in order to keep my my status with them, my influence with them on good terms. So where do I go from here? So I'm going to get this colonizer built, as I said. I'm going to take over this sector as well, or make it available to be annexed. And then I'm going to move up and probably do one of these sites with my hero. I've built another overseer, which I could take with me. At the moment, I've got this unit, my main units down here. I'm going to bring them up, do this one quest with the locust plague, and then move up and then probably do this anomalous site. In the meantime, my runners are going to continue exploring, and then hopefully in the next few turns then I will have my siphon and I will be able to put that to good use. All right, catch up soon. So we've just moved forwards one turn, but I thought this was a good time to show you the manual combat. I've actually recruited a hero in the meantime, so I'm actually a little bit overpowered for this situation, but it at least allows me to show how to use the basic units and how they all work together. So what we'll do is we'll use some manual combat for this, and then I will show you the setup of each of these particular units. So the main kind of units that you have as tier 1 units is you have the runners, which are the scouts, which as you saw they can move over water and everything, they kind of teleport along, just float above the ground. But what they have as well is they have this ability called escape module. So if I can click on these guys, can I bring it up? It's down here, I think. There we go. So there we go. So if you can see down here, we have escape module. Now what this happens is that when they get killed, instead of dying, they teleport off to another area. So it comes in very, very handy because you can be a little bit wild with these guys. You can move them forwards, throw your bowlers, immobilize probably somebody that's, you don't want to be moving too much, like a heavy unit or something like that. It's going to do damage to you. And then if they get killed in the meantime, no big deal. They just come back with 15 energy or 15 vitality, and they just sort of move somewhere else off the grid, and then you can always move them back if you need to. So something to be aware of. It's really handy. They also have universal camouflage, which means that they move around the territories and they don't get spotted. So they're great for spying on opponents and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, and I mentioned the arc bowlers. The arc bowlers immobilize, so it's a status effect. They immobilize for 2 turns. And it can be very, very handy for doing triage on enemies. If you want to stop certain enemies from moving forward too much so you can focus on another, then the bowlers come in very handy. They've also got like a pulse weapon, a pulse pistol, there we go, so which is not bad. It does some damage and is pretty handy. Your main kind of body of units are these indentured, and they have these arc weapons called the pulse repeaters. And they have Overwatch, so they're kind of really useful. You can put them, like for example now, I'm going to move them up into positions where they've got some cover, and just pop them into Overwatch. So pop this guy behind. In fact, let's move them really far forward. Let's really be brave. Pop them into Overwatch right here, and we're going to move these a little bit further back, just so that we haven't got them in adjacent hexes, so that any tactical strikes, area of effects have less opportunity of doing damage. But having said that, I'm going to have to move my hero fairly close to one set of units. I'm going to pop him into Overwatch as well. The thing with my hero, Cindy, you can see I've already started putting mods on. I've been using my Cosmites straight away, so I get a static build-up module, which gives me a bonus to my arc weapon, which is great. And then I get a +10 increased damage on all my abilities, and I can flank as well, and I get bonuses for that. So, and I've increased vitality as well. I got the chance to upgrade my hero once, so I've increased vitality and then added, where does it just show up in here? I'm not seeing it. I have the ability as well to get bonuses now when I do these anomalous sites. So that's like a 3-point value on that. And then our runners, where can we move our runners? We'll move our runners just behind the tree for now and just pop them into defense mode. And then my overseers, I'm going to move to the back. It's quite likely that these guys are going to take some damage. So we'll put them there, and then we'll try and get these overseers to run across as much as possible. Can they actually do it? They're going to take a shot. 35% chance. We might as well just take the shot while we're at it. There we go, done a little bit of damage, and we'll move our hero in as well. There we go. And we are going to, can we get a shot in? Yeah, we can get a really good shot in, 55%, but it's worth it. There we go. All right, so that's going to end that turn. Okay, they're spreading their attack, which is good because it means it makes things much simpler for me. I have my operations ready, so let's use some tactical operations. I have my diversion projector, which I don't really need at this stage. Emergency shielding I don't need either, but my arc discharge will come in very handy as that jumps across multiple hexes. So we're going to select that and do some damage on these two guys here. There we go. And that should allow me to hopefully take these out pretty quick. So what we're going to do is I don't need to heal anybody. So I'm going to do a flank from over here. Oh, I forgot that guy was up there. All right, well, we need to deal with him. So let's remove him from the picture straight away. There we go. All right, and we're going to continue. These guys are not looking too healthy, so we're going to use and get some. Oh no, sometimes it's difficult to say that's the enemy. Right, okay, so let's deal with that one there. Then these guys can flank in this direction.
Serves them right.
Okay, then my indentured units here can then flank.
Down.
Oh, that ended a bit sooner than I wanted to. I was going to demonstrate the ability of the Overseers to do both healing and to return the points of the indentured, but we're going to have to wait another round to do that. So there you go. So that was pretty straightforward, but at least now you know kind of the main units, and then when we do our next bit of manual combat, hopefully I'll get the chance to show you a little bit more of what you can do with the Syndicate. So in the meantime, I'm going to go off and do a few turns and get a few more things done. All right, catch up soon. Okay, we're at turn 16, and this is where we're at now. I've been doing some exploring, and everyone seems to be hiding from me. As you can see from my map down in the bottom right-hand corner here, I've found loads of shoreline. In fact, let me see if I can zoom out. As you can see, I've found loads of shoreline all along the North Shore, and then we've got the kind of a little bit here that seems to connect. And then is more shoreline down here. So it looks potentially like I'm on an island. It's a little bit difficult to see, but it's quite possible that I'm on an island. It may actually just spread down to the southwest, but I haven't had a chance to check that out yet. So my runners are still sort of floating around looking for places to go. In the meantime, I've now annexed another sector. So this sector, if I go to economy, you can see I've now got 2 production bonuses on this sector, which is great. And then I have now set up a new colony in Jizadar. And Jizadar, I'm going to focus, as you can see, I'm building right now on that. It doesn't really show there. Let me just click on it. There we go. I am building a science lab. So my second colony is going to focus on research. Research is going to kind of be key for the Syndicate because I want to get as many of those society skills as possible. And so hence why I've gone for the science lab as my second choice. On top of that, you can see I've got science sector here, and then if I do my aquatic development, I'll be able to get a science bonus up here as well on this offshore sector. There is this teleport which I still haven't checked, so I need to check that at some point to make sure it doesn't go anywhere too dangerous. I've been stocking up a few units. I did a quest for the growth faction, and they gave me a worker bee, which is fine. They're not really that useful, but there you go. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this anomalous site next, I think. On another note, very quickly on the doctrines, you can see that I have indentured contracts, which I did very early on. I also took the emissary, which gives me 100% more influence from quests, as influence is needed a lot for a lot of the strategic operations. As you can see down here on the left, we've got the energy siphon and fabricate casus belli. They both need the influence, and the energy siphon especially I'm going to be using a lot. So that's very handy for me. So those are the ones that I've got at the moment. And then, my tacticals at the moment haven't increased anymore. let me go up into my society research. So, as you can see, I now have my covert infiltration. Next up, I'm going to be doing food development and research development, as I have a food colony and I have a research colony. Those are my natural next choices. So let's get food development underway. And then what we can do is we can also start priming the energy siphon, so we can use that on the next turn. And that pretty much wraps it up. So let's grab this person here and go in here and see what we get. Right, so it's going to burn through the ice. It's going to take 3 turns. So as you know, with these anomalous sites, you just have to basically just go through various steps, and then we see what happens at the end and see whether we have some conflict or not. So let's do that. And that's step 1 of 2. And then I am literally just going to see, can I get these? There we go. I can merge these armies. No, I can't do that just yet. I'll have to do that on the next turn. So I will continue to explore with my runners. What I'm going to do is I think I'm going to head southeast and see if I can cross the ocean. There we go. And see if I can find some more land masses and find some more people, because I could really do with finding more people at the moment. And then over this side, there we go. Let's go to here. Where's my chap? There he is. So we're going to keep moving him this way. I did find a teleport, and the teleport leads somewhere over here. And so let's just keep moving with him. There seems to be quite a lot of water on this this game, which is going to make it interesting when we actually get into combat. And we will find out in due course where we go with that. All right, so see you in a turn or two when we have when we know what's going on with this anomalous site. All right, see you in a mo. Turn 19, and in turn 19 we now have our siphon. On top of that, I have actually discovered some Kirko all the way down here, somewhere in the edge of this map. There we go. I bumped into the Kirko here. They've got a colony called Hazira. I don't know if it's actually going to show up just yet. Literally, we're just at the end of the last turn. On my society research, I've got my food development done, so I'm going to start my research development. So that's underway. In my military research, I now have enforced control, so I now have the Guild Assassin. And I'm now moving on to the one I mentioned earlier, which is preventative control, which will give me the cerebral control collar so that I can make units indentured, thereby reducing my costs and also being able to use action points twice on that unit with the help of the overseers. Now, moving back, we also, I have basically acquired another sector for Jizadar, and I have started the specialization of research exploitation for that sector, so that we can get our research ramped up. So we're at plus 65, which is pretty good, but we need to keep pushing that up all the time. But what we're going to do is, before we do this anomalous site, we're going to go into our strategic operations and we're going to launch our energy siphon. So yes, so even though I discovered the Kirko and just at the end of the last round, it's not showing up yet, so he hasn't actually said hello. So I assume that's going to happen on the next turn. But what we can do is we have good relations with Mahina, and because we've got the covert bonuses and stuff, we've got an 80% chance of succeeding. So we're going to launch that. There we go, operation not detected by target, energy siphon successful. So in a few times' time, we're going to get a little energy boost, which is going to be great. And then coming back to the society research, then obviously we're going to want to train up after research development. We want to go do counter ops. And the reason why is I want to get this secret state. The secret state means that it's going to make it much, much harder for my opponents to do checks on me to see whether I'm actually the one doing the siphon. So, you know, you can use the internal purge, and the internal purge basically checks to see if someone is doing something like a siphon or any covert operations. Now, if my operational defense is high, then the chances of that internal purge succeeding are much, much lower. So it means I get away with being a thief for much longer. So I really want the secret state, and that's going to tie in with Operation Effectiveness 2, because I'm going to need that in order to get the extra doctrine so that I can then enable this. So I'll probably do Operation Effectiveness and then do the counter-ups. But that's kind of where I'm going next with my society research. And then finally, let's look at this anomalous site. I just get a reward. We'll take that. Okay, so what do we have? As we approach the figure, a number of the ruined vehicles roar to life, revving their engines. Disgruntled vehicles will deter us. Yeah, we're just going to go for that one, I think. Yeah, let's enter combat. Low risk battle. Okay, well, okay, we might as well use these units and do some manual combat, right? Wait for the screen to load up. That's not a good start. We've got to go up steps. Oh, so do they. Okay, so we're taking on 4, looks like spacer vehicles. Right, let's speed that up. There we go. Right, and so we need to get ourselves into position as quickly as possible. So we're going to move our indentured. Let's move our hero up. By the way, I've been upgrading my heroes. I've been going along. So you can see Cindy Sparks, I've given her the hazmat protection. She's still got the static build-up module and the targeting system, and now has more vitality as well. I boosted up her vitality with when I had the chance to upgrade my hero. So there we go. So we're going to pop that there, and what we're going to do is we're just going to, I can't remember if the spacers have grenades. I think I should probably check, right? Well, they've got launchers that can do. What have they got? Makeshift turret, reckless crash. Okay, so it doesn't look like they've got area of effect weapons. So I'm not too worried about putting my units too close together. They may be able to do that with tactical operations, but I'd rather just get the overwatch in place. The problem is everything's got to come up these stairs. So I kind of restricted movement here as well. Let's pop the overseer behind the hero. Let's put them into a defense mode. And then these guys should be able to fly straight over the top, right? Okay, now they still can't get past. Right, we're going to leave them behind for now. We're just going to put them in the back. So that puts us a little bit of a disadvantage. And we'll pop these undercover just there. We'll do overwatch. It's not going to help, I don't think. We're not going to move forward enough. And then we're going to end this turn, and then we get obviously our our tactical operations afterwards. Okay, so we've got one set of indentured units that are taking quite a lot of damage there. But they survived, so that's good. So the very first job is get our overseers, and we're going to do a healing on this turn. There we go. And then we've got to work out where we're going to focus our efforts. So these guys are all together, so straight away that's going to be an arc discharge. There we go. So we're going to use that, and we are going to pop it right on there. There we go. So we do damage to all 3 of these guys. They have got quite a few units, so I've got to work out how I'm going to focus my fire. So I think if I can move these forwards 1 space, and he's under cover, so there's a 40% chance, but we're going to give it a go anyway. That's good, we've got a critical hit. Right, that solves a lot of issues. Yeah, so these guys are spacers, so that's going to spawn later. Then we can move these guys under cover, and then, okay, the one in the middle seems to be the one that's got the best chance of being hit. Okay, well, we went sideways on our shot, but that doesn't matter because we hit the other unit, so that's good. Right, so let's get our hero. Let's get our hero right up front. Let's just throw our hero in. All guns blazing. There we go. And get the 1 shot with that. But that now means at least we can move up these indentured units and get them involved in the action as well. It doesn't look like I'm going to have quite enough to finish off, because they've already done their turn, and these guys are not going to have range. That's unfortunate. It'd be nice if I could have finished off that unit. So we're going to move them forwards anyway as far as we can. And then we're going to end the turn. Do I have units that can still act? Oh yeah, I've got a little bit of movement left. That's fine. Okay, that was the bash, and I'm going to get a bash from the other side. God, they're knocking my hero around, aren't they? Alright, so now they're right on top of us. So I'm going to look at the best. I should be able to get some good flanking moves in here. So let me look at my operations. So I've got the diversion projector. I want to have a chance of being blinded. And okay, so we're going to use that on our hero, and then that's going to affect these two guys, I think. So we're going to use the diversion projector. And it's also going to affect my own unit, so that's not really going to work very well. So I think what we're just going to do, we're going to use the arc discharge again and use it on these two units at the front, and then try and take them out as quickly as possible. I'm a little bit worried about these indentured units at the back, so let's immobilize. Can we get these guys? Yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to move my bowlers round, my runners, and use the bowlers and immobilize that one so we can concentrate on him later. Oh, they actually took him out completely, so that's ideal. Well, that simplifies things. All right, so we can now do a flanking attack from here. There we go. And then we're going to use our hero to shoot that one there. Okay, this is all coming together quite nicely now. And then I'm going to bring... Yeah, my hero's not in good state, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring these guys forwards. Okay, I'm not going to focus on these little totem poles, because if I can finish this guy off in one round, then these guys will not matter. They don't affect the end of the game. So, I need to... My hero's in a bad state, actually. So, I'm going to bring these... I'm going to have to probably... It's a tough call. I think I'm going to bring these forwards and just try and hopefully get this ended. So they can... Yeah, so this is a good time to use my thing. So what I can do is I can use my cerebral override, and what that's going to do is it's going to give back all the action points to this indentured unit. And so now he gets the ability to shoot again. There you go. So that worked out perfectly.
Our forces are
I'm glad about that, because my hero was looking a little bit sketchy there. He was down to sort of half points, although I doubt that those last units will be able to do the damage. So there you go. So that was using manual combat, and we kind of used all of the abilities of the tier 1 units. So hopefully that was useful. And we've got our reward as well, which is handy. So we're going to take that, and then we're going to move... Oh, let me just make sure I get my operation effectiveness underway, because with that bonus, it completed that research development. So we're going to get operation effectiveness underway. And then I'm going to move forwards a few turns. Oh, I'm going to level up my hero as well. Okay, so what we're going to do is, I'm a big fan of vitality. As you can see, I kind of needed it with my hero. I have a tendency to throw my heroes in a little bit too much into the action. So some more vitality will be good. So we're going to do that. All right, so that rounds up that turn. There was a few things to look at there. And I will catch up with you probably when the siphon finishes. In the meantime, actually, what I want to do as well is I want to start priming my siphon. So when I meet the Kyoko, I get to use the siphon on them as well and get all the energy. Right, see you soon. Right, turn 22. And first thing is I've got some energy from my first siphon. So that's popped up nicely. That was getting pretty low. I was below 100. So that's just bumped up nicely. On top of that, I have already set off a energy siphon on the Kyoko. That is Tokuchika. And as you can see, I'm having good relations with Mahina, even though that energy siphon is going on. I've been paying her some compliments. And I've just met S96 Orn, and she hates my guts already. I don't know what it is with me and the assembly. They just do not like me. She just took an immediate dislike to me. I literally known her one turn, and we've already got -225 standings. So I have primed another energy siphon. So I used up the last of my influence in order to do that, so that I can do an energy siphon on her as well. And then hopefully I'll have all the energies. On another note, I just completed Operation Effectiveness 2. So now I'm going to start counter-ops, as I mentioned before. So let's do that. And what that allows me to do now is if I go into my doctrines, you can see I've got 1 of 3, so I can enable another doctrine. And I'm not going to bother about the builder. and I'm not going to bother about the economist. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go for noble diplomats because I really want those influence points. As you can see, I'm burning through them using my energy siphons. And then there's also that settlement further south, which I'll come back to in a minute, which I want to try and take over as well, because then I don't have to build another colonizer. So what we're going to do is we're going to get extra energy and extra influence for everybody we're at peace with. And at the moment, we're doing okay. So we're going to prime that as well. So after the energy siphon, Noble Diplomat's doctrine will kick in. And then the settlement I was mentioning is the one down here, Novaneth. So Novaneth, I want to try and get these guys on board, and I'm going to need influence to do that. In the meantime, I've built another colonizer, so that's my third one. And I am going to go and build a colony here, and I'm going to focus on food because I'm not too bothered about energy. It's not my priority right now. I would rather try and grow my colonies, and food is going to help me do that. So I can make that a food production focused colony that can then supply food to Zelnadar and to Jizadar, and then they can focus all their people on the things they need to do, which Zelnadar will be production, which is producing all my armies, and Jizadar is going to be on research. So that's the plan. So let's just move that colonizer into place and found that syndicate colony. And then what I'm going to do from there is I'm just going to go on a few more turns and see what happens. And obviously I'm going to set off this siphon on what's her name again? 6A? S96, there we go. 6A was when I was with the Kirko. All right, so on S96 and also with Jizadar, I'm going to see, I'm going to go for the Society Investment Center because, like I said, I really want to build up that kind of covert ops doctrines and stuff, which is all in the society research. So the military I'm not so worried about. So I'm going to do that and get a specialization there. And then that's going to help boost up my society research no end. All right, so that's where I'm at, and I will catch up with you soon. Turn 27, and this is where we're at with turn 27. So I've done 2 energy siphons so far, and they've both worked fine. I also did an energy siphon on, I've forgotten her name, S96, my buddy, who's just does not like me at all. And as you can see here on the right hand side, she tried to do an internal purge, but it failed, and that is because my my defense levels and operational, sorry, let me come up here, my tactical, forgetting the right words, basically my operational offense and my operational defense are high. Okay, so if I actually zoom out and go into operations, you can see I'm at 7, which puts me up pretty high. And S96 is at 3, and then Nisildar is at 3 as well, and so is the Kirko. So all of them have much lower operational points than I do, which means that all my covert and strategic operations are being much more successful than theirs. So that's kind of really important, and that's what we were focusing on doing with the Syndicate. The issue that I had was I was really low on influence, but that's boosted recently. Obviously with the help of the Noble Diplomats and also from completing quests for the growth. So I've got really, really good standings with them. In fact, if we look, you could see that I'm at peace. So, we're doing really, really good. And then the Paragon, I'm just keeping neutral at the moment. Obviously, I don't want it to work for both because then I end up just not making any progress. And I want to try and get the growth really on my side so that they can help me out if we get into any wars. Now, originally I wanted to use all these influence points to take the independent colony that's down here, Novaneth, but that's going to have to wait because I want this Monica production plant. And you can see I have to negotiate that for 37 influence, but as you can see from the economy tab, I get another bonus, so I'm going to be able to annex that for Zelnadar, and that's going to give me loads and loads of production capability. In fact, if we look at Zelnadar, you will see that in 1 turn, I get growth in 1 turn. So that's the next turn. So I'm going to take that now. So I'm going to take my worker bee that I got from a quest. And we're going to go, yes, please vacate. And there we go. So we've now acquired that. And we got some production bonus as well, which is all good. and then I'll be able to annex that hopefully on the next turn. And you'll see from Zelnadar, if you look at my people, you see I've got all these slots for production. So this is why with the other colony down here, Desna Death, at the moment it's just producing energy. I'm just trying to build up my energy stockpile so I can build armies in mass pretty soon. Desna Death is then going to be able to focus on food, and that's going to happen fairly soon. So probably when I get to about turn 30, I'm going to start specializing my colonies. And then if I can take over this settlement, then I'm going to make that an energy-based one. So I've kind of got all 4 covered. Unfortunately, some marauders came out of nowhere, and I just did auto combat on it, thinking it was going to be okay. And so I lost this annex, but that's fine. I've got my main armies here, so I'm just going to zoom across and take that back. So that's no biggie. And then I also found, where is it? I think it's Vostoranov here. Is another independent settlement. So hopefully I'll be able to lose the influence of that. So my biggest issue right now is the lack of influence, because I really want to do some more energy siphons, and later on I'm going to want to do research taps, and I can't do that without more influence. So hopefully I'm going to be able to build that up pretty soon. I haven't talked about the military tab in a while, so let's go and take a look at that. So I did my preventative control so that I can get my indentured units as and when I'm ready for that. And I also did biosphere subjugation just because it gives me a really good tactical operation, which does a lot of thermal damage and leaves these Pyrex hazards. So it makes it difficult then for units to maneuver around that. But the one I did train up just now is force projection, so I can get the Mirage. The Mirage is a great little unit. It has this ability to create a force field around itself, so all the units below it are protected, and it can do some pretty good damage as well. And it's a psi-based weapon, so which, as you know, goes straight through armor. So that's all really good. So I'm really pleased with that. And then what I'm going to do now is I'm going to train up Phoenix Op Station, and give me 2 strategic operations: Incineration Strike and Plasmoid Development. And the reason why I really want to do that now is because if we actually look at my strategic operations, you can see that they're all covert op stuff, and I could really do with having some stuff that's kind of more offensive now. So that would be really, really handy. I haven't worried about the internal purge because, like I said, my operational strength and defense are nice and higher than everybody else's. And as you can see, I can't use my energy siphon at the moment because not enough influence. So it looks like I will have to build that energy colony at some point. So I'm hoping that I can get that influence up pretty soon so I can take over Novineth and then get these guys to start taking over these sectors around here, which, as you can see, have bonuses for energy development. And it looks like I may need to move some armies down here because I may need to be able to take that area as well. All right, so that kind of wraps it up so far. And I will catch up with you in a few turns. Turn 31. Things are starting to sort of build up now, as they usually do once we get to this stage. So first up, Mahina declared war on S69. S69 does not seem to be popular with anybody at the moment. S69 is also S96 is threatening to declare war on me. And I decided to not do a pronouncement back to try and improve my standings. For 2 reasons. The first reason is I can't see anywhere where S96 is on my map. S96 is orange, and when I zoom out, I can see, down here we've got the Syndicate dude, all right, Taron of Hais Timur. Then we know I've got the Kyoko over here on the right with their colony called Mazra. The Amazon are down here with the Vondrial, and then there's somebody else I spotted as well, I think. And yeah, so I have no idea where S96 is. I can't see her anywhere on the map. So I'm not too worried because clearly she's not close by. Oops, looks like I need to cheer up some people here. Let me just quickly build a recreational dome there while I can. Right, so I don't forget. And so I'm not too worried. And I want to keep those influence points because I want to deal with Novineth and I want to start building up more energy. Now all my energy siphons have worked. As you can see, I've got 935 energy, so I have loads of energy, so I'm not too concerned. And I will start building more units soon, but what I have done is I have built let me see if I can find it in here, the Diplomatic Analysis Wing. which gives me another +2 influence on my colony. So you can see I'm now getting +9 every turn, which is helping build that number up a little bit faster so I can use those influence points. So like I said, those influence points I'm going to use on Novaneth to try and get that colony over to my side, and then after that I'll be using it for either energy siphons or energy taps, and sorry, research taps. And then I have now started to get my colonies focused. So for example, Destineth down here, you can see that I've gone in max food production, and I'm doing a share half at the moment, so that if the other colonies need it, they can get their food. Zelnadar, for the time being, I have kept the food production up at maximum along with my production because I need to get this colony. And so I need to get that growth in 2 turns. I thought it was 1, but for some reason it's taking a little bit longer. So that's saying growth in 2 turns, then I can finally annex this sector, and then after that I can put all my stuff into production so I can start bashing out units no end. And then up the top here we got Jissadar, and Jissadar is now maxed out on research, and that's where all the focus is going to be for Jissadar. On top of that, because if I go to my economy tab, there's this bonus to put to research this offshore, and then down here with Destineth, I'm going to want to take this sector which belongs to the dwelling of Zok. I don't know if they're going to let me do it. I might have to fight them for it, in which case I don't want to do that. And then what I'll do is I will go offshore and take these 2 sectors here, I think, instead, so that Destineth just focus in that area. So I'm not kind of spreading out too thin. I'm staying everything in a nice kind of tight block. Also, in my society research, I have done colony infrastructure, which is an important one. If you've seen my beginner guides, you'll know that this is kind of a critical one, especially with the Ankylosaurus, Stegosaurus update. They moved this down, so it becomes much sooner. So I've done that. I've got my colonies infrastructure building. So I'm doing my aquatic development. And then after that, I am probably going to have to think about it. I may do Dawn of a New Union, not so much because I want to make peace with everybody, but so that I can get the hero resurrection protocol, which means if you lose a hero, you can bring them back, which is kind of important, especially if you're properly invested in them. And then it also moves me up to clandestine practices, which is all stuff that, you know, is once again covert ops, and this is where we're really focusing with this particular series, is on the covert ops. So that's kind of the way I'm going to go with the society. And then obviously my operation effectiveness, when my research kind of starts really building up, then I'm going to want to take that on as well, so I can finally get my secret state doctrine up and running to keep my operational defenses up, you know, up to the maximum possible. So there you go. I think we're going to do one more round before we end this video, just to see what happens in the next few turns. But I think sort of turn 35 or something is a good time to end it, as a game normally takes anything between 90 and 150 turns. My last one, the Kirka, we did about 100, so I'm trying to keep it to 3 episodes. So I will see you soon, and we'll do the last round and see where it leaves us ready for the next episode. All right, see you in a moment. Okie dokie, so turn 33, and there's lots of stuff going on right now, so this is probably a good place to kind of wrap it up for this episode. So Zelnadar, I finally had the opportunity now to be able to annex another sector. As you can see, I've got the little plus symbol coming up. But my plans are a little bit mooted because I can't annex the Monica production plants right here. It doesn't let me do it. And the reason why is because you would naturally get the specialization. Because the colony, if I zoom out, there we go, you can see it's a production-based sector. You don't have a choice about it. It's going to become a production center. And I already have 2 like that. And you only allowed 2 specializations that can be the same in any sector. So that means that I can't actually annex it for Zelnadar, which is unfortunate because it would have been really good to be able to do that. But basics of the game, you've got to remember them sometimes. So what I'm going to do is I am going to annex Short Shore. Then that way that gives me a naval base. And so because I got really good production facilities in Zelnadar, it means that I can produce naval units very easily. And so that's the plan. So we're going to do that. We're going to annex the naval base for Zelnadar. In the meantime, my latest recruit, which was down here, I've been using this lady to just go and clean up some of these, sort of sites and stuff, just to help build up experience points. So that's helping with that. So that's good. So Desdeneth in one turn will have its issues fixed with regards to having the poor morale. And then we've annexed this naval base here for Desdeneth. So that's all good. I was going to take this one, but apparently the growth factor have got a claim on it, so I don't want to upset them because I've got really good standings with them. So I'm going to let them have that. That's fine. I'm just going to basically probably take these round here. Now I can also, with Destineth, I can take this production plant if I want. So that's there as an option. Then going down, we can now see Novineth. You can see it's actually only going to take me 30 influence points. I thought it was going to take about 50 or 60. So that's great news. So I'm going to move down there. And in fact, let's do it. Can I do it with this too? And let's see. Okay, for some reason it's not letting me move on to... There we go. Convince these people to join us. Yeah, let's do that. There we go. And we're going to turn this settlement into a colony. And I believe there's Syndicate, so we're going to end up with a Syndicate colony. But hey, that's good. That's what we want, right? So then if that's the case, then everything stays Syndicate, which is great. Sorry, I'm babbling. Let me focus. Right, and then what we're going to do is we're going to move on, and we can also do the anomalous sites. So that's 2 steps. So we're going to excavate the sands. That should normally take 3 turns, but I took one of the abilities from my hero to reduce that. So I'm going to do that. And then that's going to take place, and that means that when we start the next episode, we can then start with doing this anomalous site as well. So that's where we're at. I think my standings are pretty good with everybody right now. You can see that I've got a non-aggression pact with Taron. Things are okay still with Mahina. So now that I've got these influence points, in fact, what I'm going to do is Mahina, I'm going to send a compliment. And also to Toku, because he's kind of like a 0. So let's complete an empire task. There we go. And actually, let me come back in. And S96 is at war with everybody right now. So yeah, let's focus on Toku and just try and keep... Oh, I have to do that next turn. Right, so what I'll do is on next turn I will give a compliment to Toku, and then we kind of got pretty much everybody on board except S96. And then finally, all my strategic operations, because I got loads of energy, I've started priming everything. So anything that could be primed with energy, I'm not too bothered about native threat locator. I'm doing so that I'm using up so they're all ready in case I suddenly get attacked. All right, so that wraps it up for this episode. I hope you liked it. If you do, please hit the like icon. And if you want to subscribe, you know what to do. And hit the bell icon if you want to be notified when this next episode comes out, along with other episodes that I produce. Thank you for watching. See you soon. Bye.